Hey guys, so I guess we're not full after all. We keep thinking of cool things we wanted to mention as I'm trying to finish up this level, so we're just going to talk for a couple more minutes. And it's mostly just going to be gushing over random things we really like.
Yeah.
Republic City is really cool. It's a city where all the different vendors can live from all the different nations. They've never had anything like that on the show. It's always been very divided. And
it's so cool to just have like a random earthbender and a firebender just as buddies. Just walking down the street.
Mm-hmm. Or just the fact that Mako and Bolin could be brothers, and one an earthbender and one a firebender. There's nothing like that we ever saw.
It's so cool. And one of the other things we wanted to talk about was pro bending, which we mentioned, but we didn't talk about really.
Yeah, pro bending is a sport.
Yeah.
That is divided between it's 3 benders per team, because at the time, like there are like no airbenders. There's Aang's family, but they're not enough to constitute. So there's 1 earthbender, 1 firebender, and 1 waterbender per team. It's basically all about knocking your opponents out of the circle. It's sort of like
sumo.
Distance superpower sumo.
So that's a really cool concept that totally makes sense in this world. Like, of course they would have like a pro wrestling-esque thing that uses bending for sensationalism and profit.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And it's done so well. It kind of reminds me of in The Last Airbender when Toph was competing in the earthbending competitions.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what they called it.
I don't know, but that's like even more like wrestling.
Yeah, but it's just really, really cool. I love that. And you wanted to talk about your favorite character.
Yeah, my favorite character is named Varric. He's like an inventor, well, really more like an entrepreneur, but an inventor as well. And he also has growth and change in his character, and like it's so cool that someone who is relative. I mean, he gets a lot of screen time, but he is nowhere near the main plot.
Mm-mm.
Like I would say, he's less than. Like he had. I don't know. He's just great. Like he's funny in a really good way. He also is comic relief done right. That where, like I don't know. I'm having a struggle. Cool. This is really hard.
He definitely has a lot of development through the show. At first, you kind of think he's just some random dude that's there to tell a funny joke every once in a while, and it's funny because he's high maintenance, that kind of thing. But he really develops into so much more than that, and it's really cool the way they did it, because he is so not black and white. There's a lot. He pretty much lives in the gray area.
Yeah, there's lots of depth to all of the characters.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And he has an assistant, Julie, which I think is cool. Like they do that a few times in the show. They'll have a name that sounds like similar to an Americanized name, like Sue. It's spelled S-U.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Asian, but it sounds kind of like a name that could just be a regular European American name. And then there's Julie, which sounds like Julie, and things like that. I thought that was kind of neat. And she has a lot of development too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was so not expecting.
Yeah, from a total one note, one joke character to like an important. I don't know.
Yeah. So Varric, I don't know how much there is to say about him without spoilers, but he's definitely a fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So that was our extended thoughts on Legend of Korra.
And that thing that's in the background there on our screen right now, I love that. I don't know why. It's an airbending training tool. They're supposed to be able to just pass through it and feel like the wind currents and everything.
Yeah, with it spinning like that, they're supposed to be able to run, like, walk through it without touching any of them.
Right.
And only, like, an airbender can do it. And that's, like, an initial struggle for Korra, is because...
She wants to just, like, power through. Jericho's mad.
This is really hard. This is just, like, the 3rd level of the game. I'm fighting 3 of the toughest guys I've fought so far at the same time.
But yeah, it's a neat design. It looks cool. It makes sense. And Korra just has such an issue with it because her character in the beginning is so straightforward, barrel
And
through.
stubborn.
Yeah,
like
stubborn.
the opposite of water.
She needs to force her way through everything. So it's cool that that's how she starts to adjust. And that brings me to one other thing that I had forgotten to talk about before, which is it's really cool to see the difference in fighting styles in our main characters. Like, when we had Aang as our avatar, his style, since he was an airbender, since he was a monk, and they're pacifists, they're, you know, they don't want to set out to hurt anybody. His fighting style was pretty much avoidance, complete avoidance. Like, if you watch him in a fight scene, it's all like letting the opponent tire themselves out, making the opponent use their own momentum against them.
Aikido.
Yeah, exactly. And he just kind of ducks and weaves and bobs everywhere, and he gets out of scrapes. Whereas Korra is much more direct, and she just, I mean, she just goes for it. You know, she's pretty much as we're seeing on the game, she just attacks. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just, it's really cool from an artistic standpoint to see how they differentiate in the fight choreography and the cinematography and in the character development of the two characters, how different that is. Because she does less of that as time goes on, as her character develops. So I think that's interesting, and I have to wonder how much of that is just her growing up, and how much of that is her learning better styles, and how much is Tenzin's, which is her airbender master, and Aang's son, how much is that's his influence.
And also, when you think about, you know, animation in shows, like, it's cool that they don't, like, you know, Disney has reused so much of their animation before, and, you know, they didn't do any of that kind of cheats in this show.
Yeah.
You know, like just like, and you see it in stuff like having such different fighting styles.
Yeah, I love that they use different martial arts for every type of bending. Like, I can't remember all of them, but, like, I think Tai Chi is fire bending and things like that. And
Yeah, it's all about breathing.
Yeah, it uses a different style for everyone, and you can really see that when you watch the different types of benders fight. It's cool to watch them. And that was something that's always interested me. Like, there's this movie called The One that stars Jet Li and Bruce Willis, and it's really cool. It's like a sci-fi / kung fu movie almost kind of feel, and in that it's like multiple dimensions, and they figure out that if one of your other selves is killed, the others all, like, absorb that power. So Jet Li's character in one of the dimensions decides to go into all the other dimensions and kill himself so he can just be the more powerful one. And it's interesting because in the two main dimensions that we see Jet Li's character, he's completely different characters, and he has completely different fighting styles, and it just reminds me of that. It's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting to me.
No, it's interesting to all. That's cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around for this extended little Korra bit. In fact, I just thought we might actually make this a part 2, because we've been talking for a little bit longer. So if I did that, thank you so much for watching. Sorry that I didn't do the regular intro and all that. If not, I'm sorry that none of this makes sense. So thank you guys for watching regardless. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action here every day on the CyannSentry channel. Thanks again to CyannSentry for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. I don't know about you, but we are totally full.